I'm William Shatner. I've done a lot of things in my career, but this takes the cake. This is so cool. You, Joseph, today, it's all about you. You won the internet. Congratulations. It's exciting. It makes me want to celebrate. Makes me want to get up out of this chair. Makes me want to sing. Makes me want to dance. Makes me want to shout. Kick my heels up. Throw my hands up. Toss my head back. No, really, people should be shouting your name in the street.
Come on now. Sing
that song.
Joseph,
Sing it out loud.
Joseph.
I want to celebrate. Put it up in lights.
The internet belongs to you.
See, no one else deserves to be celebrated like you because you are the best.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Me, Tom Arnold, I am very famous. I absolutely like, because it's very true. Like, I hadn't freaking heard of you until I sitting on a Friday night. This is how bad my life is. Listen, fucker, good luck. Good luck with your rebranding. Like anybody knew what the name was before. What was the name? Okay, who gives a shit? That's a good name because it's got your name in it. You can pretend you're humble. You say, I'm not famous. And, which you aren't. So you're just, I mean, anyway, but I hope you get famous doing this. Good luck to you.
This is my best kind of show notes. We didn't touch one of them, not even one of them. I'm not sure which one is Paul Rudd and which one is Lane Green.
Final card here is the ultimate outcome.
Today is take your dog to work day.
Like Scooby-Doo.
Without further ado, his debut.
Sweet Caroline.
Everybody say hello to Sammy. Is it not good?
I'm just pausing so that you just are at the front of your screen.
I'm so enormously flattered.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of this.
No, this is agape. This is love.
I really enjoyed this. You did do your homework. You asked great questions.
I'm flattered. Thank you. You just made my day.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane.
did I do that?
You're insane.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous. I'm actually recording 2 episodes today. There will be one that will be pre-recorded later. And if you want to attend pre-recordings, there are many ways to do that through an Access NFT, through being a part of my Discord server. There are many ways that you can actually, get behind the scenes, get backstage, get comfy, get intimate. And if you like audio, Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous is now available and has been, except I didn't tell anyone, as an audio podcast. It is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. So you can hear me, see me, touch me, feel me. Actually, that probably will get somebody into trouble. So don't do that. Just listen to me. Apologies to my mother who's watching. Welcome, Mom. I think you're going to enjoy today's episode very much. And Glenn is here as well. He said present at my desk in Chesapeake Bay as opposed to Cheesecake Factory. Enjoy, Glenn, whether you are listening, watching, eating a little bit of soup and salad. I'm just glad that you are here. Now, I mentioned different ways that you can interact with the show, but one of the things that I really do feel very strongly about, as I've told you many, many times, is this idea of the live streaming era. So if you subscribe to the show on YouTube, if you join my Not Famous Discord, there are many ways that you can benefit, not just in terms of attending pre-tapings, maybe walk-on rolls, backstage passes, but also the opportunity to win a few things. As many of you know, I give out Jaffe coin, and today I'm going to share that little QR code, which is live right now from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Shine your phone on that QR code and get yourself some Jaffe coin. There are a whole variety of ways. If you go into the giveaways channel, into the Discord, you can see the links, you can see the QR codes. You can even win NFTs. I'm trying to give away now an NFT every single week. They're not my NFTs. They might be my NFTs, but for the most part, they're other people's NFTs as well, so that I can share their work, share their collections, and really just do my part to continue to draw and drive attention and awareness to creators and the creator economy. Well, let's get into this week's episode, and specifically this week's guest. Doug Yeager is here today, and I found a photo of Doug on the internet, which apparently I won. By the way, fun fact: I once, while I was working at TBWA Chiat Day, I got, I don't know, it was some direct mail spam sent to me, and it said Joseph Jaffe, director of the internet. I should have kept it and maybe turned that into an NFT. I guess what they meant to say was director of interactive or director of interactive media, but I was the director of the internet. So when Shatner says I won the internet, I have credibility, damn it. I have credibility. So this is, an image of Doug when he was apparently 10 years old. And as you will see today, he has not aged a bit at all. So Doug is probably, let me try and embarrass him a little bit more now before he can defend himself. Probably one of the most talented, if not the most talented people that I had the pleasure of working with, which maybe says I didn't work with enough people, but truly the things he did, the things he said, live with me today, and I've never forgotten. I've always been a huge fan of him, his vision, and his work. But before we get to him, just a reminder that this Friday is NFT Fridays, and you will be meeting Mr. Hash Lips himself. So we'll find out about the Daniel Burto. You'll find out about the Sketchy Ape Book Club NFT series, his particular vision, his roadmap for this project. And I welcome him on all the way from South Africa on Friday. Well, let's get into our seated soliloquy. And actually, before we do, just looking at a few comments as well. Hello to you as well. Steve Garfield is looking forward to hearing about, he felt like I needed to provide more links to Doug and everything that Doug's up to. And I said, no, just watch the damn show and you will get all the links you need as you eat your scrambled egg and fresh chives. And finally, Brian is here. He said, look forward to the episode. Love the Catskills and creativity. Hello, Emmanuel. Brian, you're going to be wanting to make a reservation in the Catskills when Doug is finished with you. But now it's time to get into the seated soliloquy. And I keep saying before I do, just one more thing. Well, let me tell you just one more thing. Doug once actually spoke at an event that I put together called The Battle for the Heart. And I always had an interactive creative director giving a keynote. And, as law goes, because I could completely have imagined this or made this up, but from what I remember, and this is the story that I tell people, so whether it's true or not, it is my truth and it is my version of the truth. Doug can refute it if he chooses to. But what Doug actually did was he had a presentation. I think he was using Keynote, and every single slide was completely randomized. And I think he also had a timer on each slide for maybe it was 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. So he delivered a 30-minute presentation with 60 slides, all delivered in complete random order. And I thought to myself, this is a man, this is a human that can show and demonstrate creativity. This is not the soliloquy, by the way, although it could be. Maybe it will be the soliloquy, but I never forgot how amazing it was. And I think some people found it insane. Some people couldn't understand how he did it or why he did it, or couldn't make heads or tails of it. But the story behind the story, the method to the madness was something that I never forgot. And I just wonder how many people could even do that today. So maybe I'll, just segue into it was probably a good lead up to a soliloquy on credit, because I think to myself, there are so many people in this world that don't, I'm getting all choked up. I'm not really, I don't know, swallowed air. They don't get the credit for what they did. They don't get the credit that they deserve. They don't get the credit that they should get. And, you know, Bill Bernbach, everyone talks about David Ogilvy and Bill Bernbach, but they should also talk about Doug Yeager in the same breath. Bill Bernbach was famous for creating a new model for the advertising creative process. He teamed up an art director and a copywriter. One was good with words and one was good with pictures. And they became a team, and they worked together as a team, and they did everything together as a team. But there's been no innovation in the advertising space since then. Now, this team was predominantly created for and excelled at creating television commercials. Well, fast forward to 2000, 2001, when I worked at Chiat, and what Doug had done is he created a third prong, a third leg of the trifecta, of the tripod. And he created a title called The Wizard. And the way that, again, this is my version of his reality, the way The Wizard worked was, The Wizard was, let's say, 80% technology, 20% creativity. Whereas the interactive art director and the interactive copywriter were 80% creative and 20% technology. And so by adding this new input, or this new input to this new stimulus to the equation, it completely changed the dynamic. And so now, instead of a team of 2, there was a team of 3. Now, we don't talk about The Wizard, and we don't talk about what creative teams look like in the interactive business today, maybe because they suck, or maybe because the work sucks, or maybe the work sucks across the board, and maybe it doesn't, but I think you know my position on it. I just remember that, you know, if you go back to Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, well, then clearly the only way to get a result, an exponential result, a disruptive result, a result that changes hearts, minds, the world, business models, is to be able to actually change your approach, change the way that you look at life, change the way that you live your life. And I just want to say one more thing. I talk about credit and getting the credit. It's my own neurosis as well. Will I get the credit for flipping the funnel, for creating marketing bow ties, you know, for being able to bring my thinking to the table? And then I thought to myself, I wonder if Doug even cares. I wonder if he even cares. I wonder if he even thinks back to that. I wonder if he even wastes a second of his life, loses a second of his sleep, wondering if he got the credit, if he should have got the credit. Instead, as Doug was saying to me in the green room, he just gets on with business, and he likes to create, and he likes to do as opposed to talk. So that's my setup to, and it's quite a setup to bring him on to the show. Doug Yeager is a designer based in the Catskills. He and his wife and son live in the Catskill Park. Doug is a former advertising executive who was a partner at both JWT and TBWA Chiat, developing digital products, campaigns, and integrated efforts for global brands. He and his wife have been running a nimble creative studio since 2010. We've developed breakthrough work for Squarespace, PwC, Disney, Activation Blizzard, and none of that is even how I know Doug today. So let's bring him on to the show. Mr. Doug Yeager, welcome to the show.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going well. It's nice to, I had to wait 321 guests to finally bring you on.
Wow.
But I think I'm ready for you.
Congratulations on interviewing so many people. That's amazing.
It's been fun. And I love the mental gymnastics part, which is, you know, every day. Sometimes I don't like, honestly, I shouldn't say this because he's He's probably going to see it, but I have Keeson Patel on the show. I have no idea who he is. I have no idea what he does, but I will make it. But I, I will be plugged in. I will be attentive. I will be actively listening, and I'll make him look like a rock star in about 3 hours and 45 minutes. And if not, I'll just make sure that I don't show the show.
Well, you can make that decision after you've recorded it.
So
right
Doug,
now we're live. We're live. We can't stop this.
We are live. I want to, and nor will we. I want to first of all wish you happy National Spouses Day. That's what today is, believe it or not, January 26th. We're going to talk about your spouse. We're going to talk about your friend, who's also your son, who's become a bit of a rock star.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's I started my company with my wife in 2010, and the reason why we started it was because we wanted to spend more time together, and both of our careers had us seeing each other after 11 o'clock at night, and we saw a skill overlap, and we were like, "Do you want to try this?" And we did, and we're still together almost 11 years later. So it's we're having a good run, which is cool.
I always find a quote for my guest, and this is the quote that I found for you. You come to love not by finding the perfect person, but by seeing an imperfect person perfectly. And so I guess my question for you is what are your imperfections, Doug? Do you have any?
Well, I hate email, and I
think that's not an imperfection. That might
well,
be a perfection.
I don't. I mean, I think in a weird way I'm perfectly me. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard. The things that I'm working on are trying to improve diet and exercise, so I can prolong life for my son, so I can be there to help him through his life, and so that's impacted sort of decision making. I think one of the things that's really frustrating for me is that I have too many ideas and not enough time to execute them. And so that's something that myself and my partner always are thinking about, which is how to focus on an idea long enough to bring it to life in a way that it becomes like self-sustaining. And really it's challenging. My wife and I together, we both have so many ideas, and we also love helping people. And so I think when these ideas come at you like a fire hose, you have to decide, what and when to drink. I would say that's the biggest flaw that I have, is just too many ideas.
Yeah, I mean, this almost feels like a bad job interview where someone goes, "What are your flaws?" and you go, "I think maybe one of my flaws is that I just care too much." But I mean, you are, I don't know, perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect. But none of those weaknesses are weaknesses; they're strengths. The only thing I picked up there was this idea of frustration, and I carry that same frustration as well, and it actually drives me mad, which is the same problem: too many ideas and not enough time to execute, or maybe not even enough resources. So how do you prioritize, Doug? I mean, how do you manage to figure out what to execute and what to put on the back burner?
Well, I think, what usually happens, there's a hierarchy related to our studio business, which is, clients typically will come first. And so we will typically make decisions that will focus on when their project is due and what is required. We also have sort of another time-based requirement around our properties. We do a lot of the QAing and management around our properties. And so when there's a check-in or check-out or something related to a guest experience, we're trying to make sure that happens really great. And then the third leg of that, well, that's the business side of it. But before that is our son. We're trying to make sure that he has a great environment to learn in, and that he gets everything that he needs. And so, yeah, I mean, in a weird way, we're trying to devise a strategy for our life where our son and our family time is the most important thing. And then while that's happening, we're able to deliver for our clients and our guests at our properties. And then we do leave a little sliver for innovation, and that's usually in the form of developing software and tools to make everything else easier. Right now we're trying to get 2 more properties for our short-term rental business going. And, every day we spend time on that, but every day we're also spending time on other projects. So really we're able to, in some ways, because of how we designed our business, focus on what we feel like focusing on most of the time. We do very few direct meetings. We have a process that we use called brand sprints, or now they're doing buildings, they're just called sprints. But we have these sort of big meetings that we plan for that are 2 to 3 hours long, where we engage the client that we're working with in a more intense way. And then between then, we're doing very little communication. I mean, it's really just to set up that next meeting. So we're trying to actually be in a situation where we're in such control of our time that we let our feelings move us towards the things that are most important. If that's a good answer.
No, it's a great answer. And what I realize is there are probably people that need a little bit of a retrospective to understand how you got here. And when you talk about rental property, how landmark and really just groundbreaking it is. And it's not just about the property, it's about the entire approach. I do want to say one thing, which is I actually from this week even on my show, this concept of converging passions and overlapping calendars was a thought that came up, which is when you're trying to figure out work-life balance, that's pretty much how you start to figure out what that right solution is. When you can converge your passions, your interests. In your case, you've ended up working with your life partner, but also watching your son grow up in the most incredible circumstances. And the funny thing is, the only time I think that you are turning to technology and communication is you're capturing all these moments, and you've been just prolific in terms of sharing your story and your journey on Instagram. I don't think you have any idea. Maybe you do. I don't want to say I don't think you have any idea. But I mean, I look at everything. I never miss it. And just seeing him grow up, I almost feel like I know him. But more importantly, just watching this and just feeling just the sense of pride to say this is how it's done. More people should watch you and watch this journey, because it really is, Doug, inspirational. Not just saying that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that the pandemic sort of aided in this current decision to have him with us every day during the day. But I can't imagine not being around him while he's learning. I'm sitting next to him while he's in class learning how to read. I'm seeing him, jump to raise his hand and do that kind of stuff. But equally, he helps me on projects. He'll help me move logs of wood. He'll help me shovel. He's kind of just almost an apprentice in our studio in terms of everything we're doing. And he's always looking for opportunities for himself to contribute and earn his position here, which is kind of amazing. But yeah, I mean, Instagram for me is a way to share with our family first. My mom lives in Pennsylvania, and Sloane's parents, live in Massachusetts. And we see it as a way of just sharing the moments with them, because he loves them so much. And for them to know what's going on in his life, that's something that we wanted to keep happening. And so for the most part, Instagram for me is just a way to share what's going on in my life for our family. And then I've learned over time that people have sort of benefited from some of the things that I'm sharing. It's encouraged them to, look at different products to use in their life, or even different techniques for parenting, I guess, which I think for me, I still feel like I'm a beginner. But yeah, it's interesting, the feedback you get when your audience on Instagram gets larger. I mean, I still have a relatively small audience. I pretty much follow the same number of people that follow me. And But when you start getting information from that group that's going along with you, and they start, responding with comments and start giving you tips, it really does generate a lot of value in your life. And so for me, that's partially, why I give time towards Instagram, is because I get something back from it. And it's a cool tool. I mean, it makes, sharing visual information really easy.
And I mean, something that I worked on and had oversight over at TBWA Chiat Day was strategy, interactive media strategy, and there's strategy in there because there's utility, because there's a use case, because there's just, without overthinking it, there's the practicality and the ability for you to share these moments and memories with your family, period. And the unexpected benefit that came from the fact that you realized, to just reframe, not even reframe, just to kind of paraphrase what happened when you realized that you were touching a lot more people's lives. So let's go back to Chiat Day. I'm, interactive media director, even though I don't really still understand what media is. We're playing Unreal Tournament. The media people against the creatives. I'm not sure if you ever played along, but you guys always kicked our ass. And then you create the wizard. Of course, I had to ask you the question, which is based on the soliloquy. Do I tell the story correctly? Do I care about it more than you care about it? Is there merit in what I said about this idea? Like, you don't even think twice about getting credit or recognition for this, for the stuff. You just get on with it.
I mean, I feel like at the time I got a lot of recognition for the work that we were doing. If it was what I wanted to continue doing with my life, I'm sure I would care more. But I think that, the idea of the wizard at the time was, I think it kind of got relabeled as a creative technologist, was just the idea that, a copywriter is someone who's a master of words and storytelling. An art director, knows a lot about the different photographers or illustrators that they can hire and the different ways of communicating visually. And hopefully there's overlap between those two parties, and they can kind of generate different kinds of ideas and thinking across all the expected mediums at the time in advertising, which was, mostly television, radio, and print and outdoor. And my department was responsible for sort of kickstarting what is, digital. And for us, we saw it more so as interactive, because digital allowed for the users of the computer to choose to click or not click or roll over. And so we really wanted to put forth, a team structure that could adequately understand the digital medium. The way that the traditional agency allowed for medium expertise was to have producers. So there was, television producers, and there were radio producers, and there were print producers who were experts in those mediums, and they were adding value to the execution. But the native copywriter and art director kind of were avid consumers, and felt, knowledgeable in the creation of that medium. But digital, because at the time when we were working in it, file size and streaming speeds and all these kinds of things were so relevant to how the communication would occur, that we needed, someone on the team that could actually be good at making feasible ideas quickly, ideas that could happen at the speed of advertising. And so the wizard was a clever way of, kind of not saying creative technologist, which just seems so like, I don't know, it just didn't really have a ring to it, I guess. Yeah. And some of the people that I wanted to recruit for that position, I don't think wanted to work as a creative technologist. And so I got two guys. One guy's name was Adrian LaFond, and another one was Tim Harrington. And we had a relatively small department. I think it was 8 people total. But I paired them with art directors and copywriters. And when we had a campaign, it allowed us to prototype some of these digital ideas as the words and as the visuals were happening. And it allowed us to create work that earned recognition from trade publications as well as from the award shows in the industry. And at the time, it felt really, really good. And we had clients that trusted us to do that kind of work. We were doing, I think the thing that was really interesting to us was that we were working with the ad servers to allow for tracking of the user behavior inside the ad. And we were able to value the end user of the, the visitor of the publication. We're able to, value their relationship with what they're reading and not force them to click off. And that was something that, but we also wanted to be able to track and understand whether the ad was performing well, because the medium of digital allows for that. And so the ad you just put up there is Absolute Limitation. And one of the campaigns I had the luxury of working on was Absolute Vodka. And working in collaboration with the media team, we came up with this ad, which was called Absolute Limitation, which was talking about the limitation of digital advertising. And the result was we came up with these multimedia ads that were much larger, that could be interactive using Flash. And we made these ads where the observer of the ad completed the creative. And so this is one called Absolute Investigation, where your mouse turned into a magnifying glass and you were able to kind of explore the ad. And then instead of it forcing you over to another website, which is what happens when you click a banner, it would actually give you a very discrete link that looked like a button to click over to their website if you wanted to do more at absolute.com. And then I think this is another one. Let me see what we got. Yeah, this is Absolute Protection, where we assign the brand value of worth, that this vodka is under protection, much like a fine piece of art.
Well, and of course, I'll keep playing it now. But what was so you were telling me earlier? What was so landmark about this actual unit?
Oh well, I mean, it's basically it's interactive, and it was larger in scale visually than anything before. The media team went out to publications with the creative and said, "Hey, we're doing this creative. Will you change your ad formats to display these ads?" CNET was one of the big publications at the time that was trying to push their platforms, and so that happened. And then we also worked with the media servers to allow for the tracking of the mouse movement and how long a consumer was spending with our ads. So we weren't only tracking on a click; we were getting sort of that brand impression, which was really, really cool.
Well, also, I think what I was alluding to was, I don't think at the time, it was so early into the process, that sound was available, and so
yeah. Well, sound, if you played a sound in an ad, it would, if someone's at work and all of a sudden an ad plays from your computer, it would cause some problems, and so we needed a way to introduce sound to enhance sort of the sensory experience of the ad. And so by making it permission based, so, after a user had interacted for a short amount of time, it would then allow for sound to play. And so that was a really, really cool, provocative thing that we were able to do. And it made it so much more fun. This was one, they collaborate. The brand overall collaborated with Cynthia Raleigh, and this was wrapping paper that we designed in collaboration with the traditional creative team, and we made this digital delivery device where you could have the pleasure of unwrapping with your mouse, and then you could print out this wrapping paper on your computer and cut it out and use it. And it was a really great thing, and we could track how often people requested to print out the wrapping paper. But it was truly fun, and it was a great experience. But that was what I worked on when I was in our 20s. I think I was like probably 25 or 26 years old when I was doing that work.
It was amazing. And I don't know if people appreciate how incredible it is to see the work and have the work told by the person who created it, because and we were a team then, or at least we collaborated as media / strategy and creative. But now I teach, and and I teach brand strategy at NYU, and I teach marketing at Western Connecticut State University, and I hunted high and low for the work, and it's almost impossible to find anymore because it's only available in Flash, which does not exist anymore. And but I
just
just think,
a tip. You can find a Flash file sometimes, and if you Adobe still makes a Flash player, and so you can download the file and play it locally. But most of these ads were made in such a complicated way because they had to load, like they had a preload and then they loaded files afterwards that were on the media server. And so we had to actually make ads that were specifically designed to play locally. And I have a couple of them in my archives, and I could find more if it's helpful for you. But it was a really, really advanced game, getting ads to play like they were video but interactive in terms of media quality, in terms of how the images looked. And then in terms of like dealing with, how fast a computer was and what internet connection you were on. And we had all kinds of games to get these ads to look good. But yeah, it was a really fun time. I mean, I think for me, the most exciting part was not the advertising of it, but really the problem solving of it. How do we get this kind of message to live in this medium? What team do we need to do that? How do we get a client to want to do this with us? That's the thing that got me excited. And that's the kind of thing that gets me excited today, which is just sort of true problem solving, in any category, getting a team to work together, getting a team who can become aligned, and then to see value in solving quickly at high quality. And that's what motivates me today, is just how do we do things that are really great, and how do we do them in a short amount of time?
I love that. And look, it transcends everything, right? It transcends the times we're living in. It transcends, it also, and yet it's completely applicable and relevant to our ability now to question, to introspect, and to take charge, to prioritize, etc. What we're going to do as we segue into Cookhouse and Zinc Cabin, and for those people saying, wait, rental properties, but isn't he an ad guy? He's creating these groundbreaking executions and being lauded for them. And wait a second, now he's in construction. Before we get there, our correspondent today is Whitney Lauritsen. It is Wellness Wednesdays. And when we think about prioritizing, when we think about converging calendars, when we think about spending time with our life partner, with our spouse, with our kids, I think her contribution makes even more sense. So we're going to watch that, and then Doug will tell us how we got from Madison Avenue to the Catskills.
Hey, I'm Whitney Lauritsen. I'm really excited to be doing these Wellness Wednesday sessions every week to help you focus on your well-being. Make sure you prioritize it at least once a week. I'm here to hold you accountable. You may remember me from an episode of this show because I was on one back in early December 2021. It's called This Might Get Uncomfortable, which is the name of my podcast. My show and most of my work is centered in well-being, which includes mental health, physical wellness, emotional health, all of these different elements of how we take care of ourselves. I've been working in this space for a while. I also have a background in social media, and I really like to combine the two, find the intersection, and make sure that you're leaving time for things like rest. So many of us are used to hustling, and we get caught up in all of that and then wonder why we're feeling stressed and anxious. So as I mentioned, I'm here to check in with you once a week. Maybe we can do things like meditations. I'll have little tips. I am actually working on incorporating meditations into my NFTs. So I'll be sharing a little bit behind the scenes of that process as well. I have a coin on the platform Rally, which is actually how I ended up on this show. My coin is called the Well coin, which makes sense given what I focus on. And I'm just thrilled to be able to talk about that weekly here and come up with new ways to grow well, to grow along with you. And stay tuned because I will be researching so much on the subject matter just to make sure I'm really in tune. If you ever have suggestions, things you're curious about, hit me up, find a way to me, DM me. I am all across social media under Whit Lauritsen. That's WHITLAURITSEN. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll be back next week.
All right, so that's Whitney setting up this idea of how do you go from this stressful, anxiety-ridden world of advertising to, I would imagine, something that is definitely less stressful and anxiety-inducing. Tell us about the journey from when we last worked together to present day, where you've, and as you do, I'll try and put a bunch of things on the screen to bring Cookhouse and Zinc Cabin to life.
In that slide deck, I've got like the different jobs that I had and how I got where I am now. Is that something you can put up?
I can.
Okay, so I worked in big advertising at Chiat Day, one of the biggest agencies in the world, and from there there was like an economic downturn. There was a lot of strategic change at the company, and my partner and I were sort of forced out of Chiat Day because it was a change in leadership. And so I started a company on my own, and I built it up. Oh, wow, cool. Oh, yes, awesome. I got the power. So I started a company called the Happy Corp, and we got some great clients: Anheuser-Busch, Apple, Bacardi, Brooklyn Brewery, Miraval Resorts, Museum of Modern Art, VH1, this company UMA, which recently became publicly traded. And I basically built up a company of, I think, 18 full-time employees, 25 people as a mass of people. And I wasn't sleeping. I was, working weekends, staying up late with my employees, going out and drinking, having a good time, but really no downtime. And then in 2008, 2009, the economy turned, and my business partner and I were so stressed out. We just decided to close the company. I took a quick job at Taxi, which is a Canadian firm. I helped them bring in accounts like HBO Go. I worked on New Holland tractors. It was really exciting. But during this time, I was really sort of focused on this sort of apex of like being the best at digital advertising, branding, creativity. I became the president of the Art Directors Club of New York, an organization that started in 1920. And it was all about career. I had met my now wife in 2003 when I started that company, and we had figured out that we weren't really getting to see each other. And so when I turned about 33 years old, I sort of had this decision to make, which was, do we continue to work apart, or do we try to work together? And so this was us. My wife, who was a ballet dancer for New York City Ballet, had gotten injured, and the company took her on to become the director of new media for that company. And she ended up building out their social media, creating over 65 films. She is extremely talented. She is amazing with design and with craft, and she's also a great producer. And so we were like, hey, why don't we see what this is like to work together? So we started a studio together in 2010. We got a place on the Lower East Side. It was a storefront across from a very famous restaurant called WD-50. And we started working together. And this was our storefront. We made art shows in our storefront. We had dinners in our storefront. We turned it into a retail shop. It was like so much fun. It was like really, really crazy time. But at the same time, our client service model was very traditional. It was, making a scope of work and then having check-in meetings along a path to solve that problem. And we also loved to do the craft ourselves. And so we both started working on and making, content like commercials for very, very big companies, which was really, really fun. And so here I can play you guys just a little example of, what does this mean making a video? So this video is the camera work is done by me and my wife. We both had a camera in this case. No, actually not this one. This is actually, we hired someone to support us, and we just edited and produced and came up with the creative.
Wait, I don't know if the videos will work from within the slides, but I still have the other
watch
one.
this.
You
You got to click the one below.
Which one is that?
It's the one that looks like an airport hangar.
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah. So this
Flying
was
is liberating. Flying is such a freeing feeling. Knowing that I'm the captain of this ship. I'm the captain.
Is that the right one?
Yep.
It's my choice where to go, when to go. When you're behind the wheel and you look out over the manifold and you see nothing but clouds in the sky, it's just opportunity. Nothing but opportunity waiting. Growing up, I was really in my own world whenever I was tasked with fixing something or doing something. I felt like the onus was on me to complete it, and it was that type of ownership that I really fell in love with. My selection of engineering as my undergraduate major is really a continuation of that type of feeling. But I knew that eventually I'd like to own my own business. And so I went into business school. There's always a certain degree of uncertainty when you're starting a new job. So when I got to PwC, they helped me make the transition by first introducing me to a professional that had a very similar background. Him demonstrating to me how he impacts the firm really kind of set the tone for me. It made me see what's possible. It made me more closely identify with how I fit into the team. In engineering, aviation, and finance, you have to be technically proficient to solve for the unknown. At PwC, I'm a part of a team that solves some of the most complex problems in business today, some of the most talked about issues. The experiences that you have, the opportunities that you have, definitely make PwC one of the best teams to be a part of. My name is Reggie Stevens. I work in tax in the transfer pricing group at PwC.
boom. So my wife and I, this is before we were married, made that film for PwC as a retention tool for companies that had been acquired by PwC, and to try to get people who are part of that acquisition to rethink about their opportunity inside a much larger company, and that company would actually allow them to find their own way inside a larger organization, which is really cool. But creatively, that was myself and my wife working on that project. And so our capabilities on assignments with PwC and some of the work I did on my previous company got us connected to Squarespace. And I don't have the videos to show, but we did a bunch of commercials. We did Squarespace's first commercial. We did a bunch of documentary films for them. And it was really amazing work. But also for us, the relationship with our business was we spent a lot of time with our clients, and it was the only thing in our life. And the way that we engaged was really with time. And so out of that storefront, all of a sudden, Hurricane Sandy comes. And on October 29th, 2012, the power went out in New York City, and it became basically like Mad Max. There was like crazy stuff blowing all over the city. There were no lights, there was no milk, no cheese, no anything. And we looked at each other and we just said, like, how are we going to complete this project for our client? And so this was across the street. This was WD-50, the restaurant. It was closed. And so we took the hard drives from our project, got in our car, and drove across the bridge to Brooklyn, checked into a hotel, and kept working. And so for us, we were like, oh my God, we are just working all the time. This is crazy. And so we started thinking about, is there a way for us to start reimagining the relationship between our skills and time? And so can we start moving away from a service-based business into something that became more productized to a degree? And so usually what happens when you start thinking that way is you start beginning to notice things in your universe. A lot of people today are using the term manifest. But I think really when you start thinking differently, you start noticing things differently, and you start moving towards opportunities in a different way. And so we came up with this thing called brand sprints, but actually we named it after meeting a potential client. And so I don't know if you're familiar, but there's this guy named Chase Jarvis, and he was a professional photographer when we met him, and he was a co-founder of this thing called Creative Live. And he called us up and said, "Hey, I really want you to work on my brand, but I don't have 6 months to do the work. I just want to pay you for a weekend of your time. I want to spend all weekend with you. We're going to jam. It's going to be a jam session. It's going to be cool. My objective is I need to reframe the vision of my company, and I need someone with your creative skills to help me do it." And so we said, first, we can't do that in a weekend. We need to do research first. And so we got hired to do a small research project where we met the people at their company. And then about 2 weeks after, we scheduled what we called a brand sprint. And so during this sprint, we basically defined the vision for the company, its mission, its values, and then actually took mouse to screen and designed a brand identity and the ways to express it along with some language. And so this is just text, who cares? But this is the logo that they had.
That sounds like your keynote now, by the way. And Tom Hespos is saying two of my faves together, so he's watching us at the moment. But
I love Tom Hespos. So Creative Live, we did this brand for them, and this was animated when it was a GIF, but in this it will not be. But so soon after, so he presents this logo and everything we did to his board, and at the time he was, I think he was like a chairman or something. He was like kind of on the sideline, not doing any day-to-day operations. He showed this work to his board. His board was like, "Wow, we got to put you in charge of the company," and they made him the CEO of the company. And his co-founder, I guess, became more of a chairman or focused on something else within the company. And then he hired us back to take the kind of the vision that we had done to finalize the assets and launch it. And so in that process, they courted some investors and they raised $25 million, which was awesome. It felt so good.
Doug,
yeah.
was this a precursor to Wordle, by the way? I'm just wondering.
No. What's Wordle?
Okay.
The game. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So we then started to reposition ourselves from media creators to a team that could help owners and executives make big change in a really sort of short amount of time. Because we felt so good after this cycle of project, we were like, how could we do this more? And so that began sort of our separation from, doing a project over a long period of time with many check-ins to, basically doing some research, having a couple really well-planned meetings where you could kind of make the decisions about a project and then move them to execution really, really quickly. And so we started doing these brand sprints for every single project that we had. But after the, that experience we had with Sandy, we were like, we got to get out of this city. We got to find some high and dry land. And so we bought this cabin in the Catskills. And so we called the cabin Zinc Cabin because the previous guy was named Zinc. This is what it looked like. It was very inexpensive in terms of, when you think of the cost of real estate at the time. This was pre-pandemic wave up in the Catskills. It, had a Bavarian look. The previous owner took really good care of this cabin. He had built it in two parts, once in the 70s, and then again, he added to it in the 80s. And for us, we were like, oh, wow, we have clients and all we do is work. Let's put these computer monitors into this cabin and we can get work done from up here. And then we said, that's too small. Let's build ourselves a place to work. And so we built this 2,800 square foot. We designed it. We general contracted it and everything. This was sort of like, for us, it was like going to architecture school with our own money. It took us a year and 2 months to build this.
Doug, I have to ask you this question, which is how did you go from you know, I watch you. I watch you measuring and cutting and sawing and soldering and on the electrical. You didn't have this experience before. How did you go from getting out the city from before the zombies attacked to to building this? It's just, I mean, it's just it's a moment that most people will never experience in their lives.
So I think for the most part, I think it's a lack of fear or maybe stupidity that allowed us to go down this path. But we have a way of building our projects for clients where if we don't know how to do something, we will find an expert to collaborate with, and we'll find a fluid way of connecting with various experts. And so in looking at architecture, architects have specific training and are accountable for the performance of their buildings, but also within the architecture trade, there are engineers, and engineers also have the ability to create construction drawings, and they can stamp plans for building them. And so myself, I have a background in computer graphics, which is 3D modeling and that kind of stuff. So I was fairly comfortable with a tool called SketchUp. And Sloan, my partner, she also is really good at that tool. And so we kind of worked together on trying to figure out a design for a studio, a place we could work. And then we also kind of designed like kind of a couple bedrooms in there as a way of, giving the space flexibility in case, we wanted maybe friends to stay over. Because the plan was to build this studio and then take down our cabin and then build a real house. And our life didn't take us that way, but that was the strategy. And so this space is just very open and generous. And we designed it so that, in some sections of it, it's painted dark inside so that your eye's exposed to the outside. And so really it feels like you're outside when you're inside. But we basically, in order to make this happen, we engaged a couple different personalities to help us with the project. One was a carpenter who had built several other buildings who also had excavation equipment. And then we also found a plumber and a electrician who we could also collaborate with. And then we just worked through the various needs of the building with those trades, and were able to come up with a plan. And when we executed it, it was really, really fun. We learned so much. We didn't make too many mistakes, which was good for us financially. And so now this building is close to, it's done. I mean, there's a couple small things that we never finished because we moved on to other projects. But that's where we currently reside. So when we moved out of that building, the cabin was empty, and we started inviting friends up to the cabin because we really wanted to share this place because it was so magical, waking up with this crazy view. And we were just started sharing it with friends. And then our friends started to say hey, you should really put this on Airbnb. But for us, it was a cabin that we had just kind of slightly improved from the previous owner. And we didn't feel like it reflected our design values or our aesthetics or our functional values. And so we started renting it. And as we got feedback, we started making improvements. And as we started experiencing the property in the different seasons, we started kind of making the building performance better and making it more reliable. And so this is the interior. That's a bathroom that I did all the work on. We had 12 days between turnovers. And so I remade that bathroom. That's the bedroom. That's the outdoor deck. You can see the mountain there. That's Mombacas Mountain. And then that's a booth. We favor booths in terms of how people sit or benches because we think it's really good for adapting to an unprescribed quantity of people. And then the requirement of you squishing past someone or having someone get up is sort of a nice, gentle interaction to let someone know that you exist. All while we're doing this, we got chickens, and now we provide, when the chickens make enough eggs, usually in the summer, we give organic eggs fresh from our chickens to our guests, which is a super exciting thing. So we did this first cabin, and we had some money in the stock market. And as we all know, the stock market is crazy. Oh yeah, there's some chickens. Cool.
And
So
babies. You're making babies now.
yeah. Well, you get them in the mail. Actually, you can get them in the mail when they're like right after they're hatched. They can send them in the mail, and they survive on their own, on their like on whatever was left over from the egg. And then you raise them like you're your parents. And so we now have a whole bunch. We have I think 16 chickens, and it's so much fun. If you want to watch the chickens, you can see them on my Instagram. I post about them all the time. So we did this project, and we're like, wow, you know what? This we started renting it on Airbnb. We started getting this continuous feedback loop. People are saying, oh, I like this, or I don't like this, or we start to say, oh wow, like let's try this and see how people react. And so it gave us sort of this like designing an interior and then having people go through it and allowing sort of that iteration to improve it. And that really was for us, like, it was like a drug. We got really hooked on that. And so we wanted to do more. We're like, can we do another property? That would be so cool. But because we moved into the place we were supposed to work, because we were initially thinking we would like live in the cabin and then work in the studio, we moved into the studio and there was less space to work, and we wanted to do more dirty kind of work. And so we were thinking about building like an industrial building to put like a wood shop in and a pottery studio and that kind of stuff. And so we started looking for property, and we cashed out some of our investments, and we bought this other property, which is called Cookhouse. And so this is what the listing looked like. It's kind of like a cute country house. But on the inside, a family was living in it, a very sort of nice family, but they kind of outgrew it because it only had two bedrooms. And so my wife and I decided, we were like, okay, well, we there's a barn across the street, and we're like, we really want that barn as a workspace. If we just paint this thing white, and we could rent it out on Airbnb, and we'd have a free wood shop. And then we started thinking about sort of how that didn't live up to sort of our creative standard. And so we decided to like gut renovate and improve the interior. And so this is what the interior looks like now. And this was a project that Sloan and I did in 4 months. So we designed it in SketchUp, and then we brought in the various trades that we would need. And then we turned it into sort of like a single hotel room with a bedroom theater. It has like a minimalist vibe, but it has a smart home inside of it. All the lightings are controlled with your voice. It's got a Sonos system. It's got an Apple TV. You can bring your own logins. It's a really, we love going to it because it doesn't have our stuff in it, and everything works really perfectly. We called it Cookhouse because there was this insight we had from when we were coming upstate from the city, which was, none of the kitchens in the city are really, really that good, and in your apartment, because the restaurants are really good. And so there's less incentive to cook. But when you come upstate, you really want to cook. And so we decided to make this place have a really sick kitchen with a, gas range and beautiful oven, a sous vide setup. And so it's kind of it's like a paradise. If you're a couple and you want to get away and like just show how you appreciate each other, that's what this property really is for. We took out we took the 2 bedrooms and made them into one, and made it into like one giant generous bedroom. And it's got an outdoor fire pit. It's just a really, really good thing.
And Doug, who has the mobile pizza oven at the moment?
We actually, I have it actually at the studio. And one of the things we're trying to do now is we're trying to work with a pizza oven manufacturer to provide pizza ovens for our guests as a kind of try it before you buy it experience. And so right now we're sort of like, we're at a scale, we have 2 properties, so it's not real. And we haven't really tried to like make a media vehicle out of our business yet. Cause for us still, this feels, it's a side project. It's like a big side project. And so I think the next phase for us is to court brands to make part of the guest experience, as a vehicle for people to buy the products that we've chosen for the properties. And the pizza oven is something that we use. But for guests who don't have experience using a wood-fired pizza oven, which does require some experience to have a good result, and our typical stay is 3 to 4 nights, and I'm not sure that you're going to become a pro at a
No,
wood
but
fire.
I will be making my way with my spouse to Cookhouse this year, and I'm excited to come up. Maybe I'll leave the pizza to the professionals. But you know, Doug, it's so funny. I can say that I've watched your son grow up, but I've actually watched your homes grow up. I've watched these homes from just transform and you know, even the chicken coop, and the whole construction and how you opened it up and you shared the problems that you had to solve with everyone. I don't know if you saw the comment. Sean Finnegan said, "Only the best people are chicken farmers."
Oh my God, Finnegan, dude, that's a class. I worked with him at J. Walter Thompson. He is a superstar. He's amazing.
So he's watching as well. Doug, I have one. In the short time we have, this may end up being my longest interview of 320 plus, which is fine with me. And I also want to ask you about one more aspect of your story. You spoke about time, and you spoke about monetizing assets, moving to a model of monetizing assets versus time. Even in this world of NFTs now, that's kind of an interesting way to think about it. But I want to just ask you about this idea of, they say that you should work, I don't know who they is, but they say that one should work harder, smarter, not harder. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know that you're not working as hard now. I think maybe you're working as hard, if not harder, but there's a different level of satisfaction. And I don't even know that you're necessarily working smarter either, but I just love you to just share a thought on,
Yep. Well, yeah. So, like, primarily,
like, what's going on?
My partner and I, we really prefer to be in a state where we're learning, and so when we are choosing to engage a client in our studio, it's really, we ask ourselves, how much can we learn from this? Typically, the learning will not be about the medium we're executing in, or about marketing strategy, or about a specific technology, but it's more so to learn about how people see the world differently, and how we can add that to our own thinking. But today I do a lot of physical labor. You know, I chop wood, I stack wood, I do these kinds of things, which when you're sitting at a desk and you're generating a high hourly rate, you might be encouraged to hire someone else to stack that wood. But I see that as sort of exercise. So, like, you know, to be working at a desk and then to sit at a Peloton and be yelled at by a coach, it's like sitting in a bike going nowhere. I would rather, you know, do things and work on my dexterity and work on my flexibility and have my body be more able so I can do the things I want to do as my son gets older. So usually when I'm doing something physical, it's because it provides a value to me, which is preserving my body. And then if I'm doing something physically with lumber or wood or designing something, it's really to understand it, you know, physically and mentally. But in terms of our business and how we generate income for our life, you know, we've tried to invest in real estate assets that we can monetize through a hospitality experience. And it's demanding to do a good job at that experience in terms of, you know, setting it up and designing it so that you don't have a lot of requests from guests. They feel like they have all the information they need. And then when you do interact with them, the interaction is really designed to be completely additive. And so that's a design process that, you know, we work on when you know, when it's not during the property's making money, really. It's something we're doing to just make the experience better. And so, you know, I don't know, for me, I feel like really fulfilled creatively. And, you know, the thing that we're looking for is to expand the number of properties that we have, so that we can be at a scale we can start collaborating with brands, and actually helping consumers find things that improve their lives. Because we really believe that when someone stays at our property, it actually, you know, does provide a wellness value. You know, it provides you sort of a psychological separation between all the stuff in your house and it brings the person in your life that is most important and some of your possessions to a new place that's been completely reconsidered, and you can go to that place and you can feel not stressed because everything works really well and the things around you are of quality, and you might be surprised along the way. And creating that for people, like occupying the time when people are on vacation is such an interesting time, especially for people that we tend to attract, which are entrepreneurs who are startup founders who want to go someplace and just get away and think about their project in a different context. It feels good to be part of that for people, and then to get positive feedback in return. It feels really great. And I don't take back any of the work I've done for any of the marketers or brands that we work on. It's just a different level of problem solving. But just satisfying someone at that core level of just comforting them with shelter, helping them find food, helping them be with someone that they love. That just feels like at the base level what's important. And to be working on that, and to say, like, how can we make people forget about their technology? How can we make it so that their phone doesn't run out of battery if that's important to them, or that the Wi-Fi is absolutely the fastest we can get them, and that it works. Those kinds of things. I don't know. It's interesting. And so that's what we're doing right now. I don't know if we'll do it forever, but for this phase of time, it's very satisfying to consider space. As a result of these spaces, people have gone to those spaces, and then we've been invited to design complete homes, which is something I never expected to be doing for other people. But we designed and then collaborated with a builder, 4,000 square foot home in the Catskills, and it's very close to completion. The family is living in it on weekends, and they also had a child, and I could show. I think I have some stills from that too, if we have it.
So Doug, I think it's safe to say that we will not be seeing Cookhouse by Marriott anytime soon.
Well, I don't. I mean, I actually think that they're. One of the things that I've experienced in working with big brands is that they tend to copy things that they see in like a trend report, but they also do acquire people for talent, to join their organization. It's interesting that you choose Marriott as a brand. They happen to be, like a true leader in the hospitality business, and like they do. I think they do acquire things, but we're not against having something we've made be acquired by somebody. But we currently are enjoying the independence that it offers us and the ability to make decisions, as we want to, without a lot of complexity. But yeah, I mean, like, we would love to see what we're doing scale in some way. One of the things we're doing, this thing called the Reset Club, we started this like 2 years ago, just as a way of connecting our guests and other people with some of the decisions we made in terms of the products that we put in our properties, so that they could easily discover them. We've had some guests, stay, and then they would ask us on rapid fire, where did you get these towels, or where is these sheets from? What bed is this? All those kinds of things. And so we wanted to create a framework that would allow us to sort of monetize the effort required to share all of these editorial choices. And so we created the Reset Club as kind of a holding place for that. We do have a longer term vision for it that involves, other short-term rental hosts or other boutique hotel brands. But right now it hasn't really been our primary focus, but it is the brand that we will do direct booking under, and it's a way for people to find our properties.
I scribbled down a whole bunch of ways to try and reinvent the idea of don't work harder, work smarter. No. Don't work harder, don't work smarter, work better, work truer. I don't know. I'm still going to keep working on it.
I think one of the things is just like work is a really weird label. For me, it's like, I want to be occupied. I want to be doing something, and I want to feel good after doing that thing.
Yeah.
And I think when you work inside of a larger corporate structure, sometimes you'll do work and then your manager will be like, oh, that was totally wrong. and then you're like, oh my God, I just wasted all that time. Oh, that's so frustrating. And so I think for myself and my partner at our company, like we're just trying to be useful and trying to feel good through the things that we're doing, and making things that make money while we are not working is something that we found to feel really good, but also that cycle of feedback from that thing. And so we're investigating other categories like making products, that we might sell through Amazon or other channels. But really, like we're just like focused on kind of being satisfied, making sure that our son is in an environment where he can learn, trying to have the time to spend with our family when it's needed or when it feels good, and try to not be beholden to outside forces that don't have your interests in mind.
Well, this has been a little bit of a masterclass on life reinvented, a reunion, as Jeff Rossi would say. Don't look now; it's a TBWA.
Oh my God, it's Rossi
reunion. Isn't it funny? Both of us were forced out. Isn't it funny how after all these years we're back together again, having a conversation? And I just want to tell people out there, do yourself a favor, and I mean it. Do yourself a favor, and just not Clubhouse, but Instagram. All about Instagram. Follow Doug on Instagram. Follow the homes and the houses and their progress. Follow the chickens on Instagram. Check out the Reset Club. And ultimately, if you go back and you watch this entire episode, what you will see is a formula for maybe a better life. It's not the perfect formula because no one is perfect, but I jotted down, be useful, generate feedback and use that feedback. And something that we see a lot happening now in this Web3 space, which is the power of passive income. It is the only way that we scale when there's only 24 hours in a day. And when we choose to spend many of those hours with the people that matter, with our loved ones. Doug, please continue to share. First of all, send me all of the absolute work before it gets wiped off the face of the earth so that I can continue teaching my students. But I just want to thank you for coming in today and doing a little bit of a trip down memory lane. But more importantly, I think the best memories are yet to come.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really do not think about the past so much. It's something my wife and I, she was a ballerina on stage at Lincoln Center, many nights per week, and now she's designing buildings. It's kind of if she was sitting today, thinking, oh, what was I doing then? It's not really a great. It's not a great place to spend time in the past. You want to be thinking about what you could be doing. How can I improve the community that I'm in? How do I make the people in my community feel better? That's what we're doing. I mean, and it feels great. There's been a lot of people from the city who have moved to the area that we're in. A lot of very creative, high performing people, and being in that kind of space with others is awesome, and we feel really, really lucky to have that.
Well, Doug, I hope to see you in person this year at the Cookhouse. And now I'm going to go and focus on making Keeson Patel feel very special, even though hopefully he's not watching right now, but I guarantee you I will deliver. The only thing left to do is to hear from Chuck Norris, who hopefully will be stopping by Cookhouse sometime soon.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.